So, rule two is if you have a worry problem, apply the magic formula of Willis H. Carrier by doing these three things. Number one, ask yourself what is the worst that can possible happen. Number two, prepare to accept it if you have to. Number three, then calmly proceed to improve on the worst. Chapter 3, what worry may do to you. Businessmen who do not know how to fight worry D- die young. Dr. Alex Carriel. Some time ago, a neighbor rang our doorbell one evening and urged me and my family to be vaccinated against smallpox. He was only one of thousands of volunteers who were ringing doorbell all over the New York City. Frightened people stood in lines for hours at a time to be vaccinated. Vaccination stations were open not only in all hospitals but also in firehouses, police precinct, and in large industrial plant. More than 2,000 doctors and nurses work feverishly day and night vaccinating crowds, and cause of all the excitement, 8 people in New York City had smallpox and 2 had died, 2 deaths out of a population of almost 8 million. Now I have lived in New York for over 37 years and no one has ever yet rung my doorbell to warn me against the emotional sickness of worry and illness that during the last 37 years has caused 10,000 times more damage than smallpox. No doorbell ringer has ever warned me that 1 person out of 10 now living in these United States will have a nervous breakdown induced in the vast majority of cases by worry and emotional conflict. So I am writing this chapter to ring your doorbell and warn you. The great Nobel Prize winner in medicine, Dr. Alex Carroll, said businessmen who do not know how to fight worry die young. And so do housewives and house horse doctor and brick lawyer layer. A few years ago, I spent my vacation motoring through Texas and New Mexico with Dr. O.F. Gober, one of the medical executive of the Santa Fe Railway. His exact title was Chief Physician of the Gulf Colorado and Santa Fe Hospital Association. We got to talking about the effects of worry, and he said, so 70% of all patients who come to physician could cure themselves if they only got rid of their fears and worries. Don't think for a moment that I mean that their ills are imaginary. He said their ills are as real as troubling toothache and sometimes 100 times more serious. I refer to such illness as nervous indigestion, some stomach ulcers, heart disturbance, insomnia, some headache, and some type of paralysis. These illnesses are real. I know what I am talking about, said Dr. Goober, for I myself suffer from a stomach ulcer for 12 years. Fear causes worry. Worry makes you tense and nervous and affects the nerves of your stomach and actually change the gastric juices of your stomach from normal to abnormal and often leads to stomach ulcers. Dr. Joseph F. Montague, author of the book Nervous Stomach Trouble, say much the same thing. He says, you do not get stomach ulcer from what you eat. You get ulcer from what is eating you. Dr. W.C. Alvarez of the Mayo Clinic said ulcers frequently flare up or subside according to the hills and valleys of emotional stress. The statement was backed by a study of 15,000 patients treated for stomach disorder at the Mayo Clinic. Four out of five had no physical basic whatever for their stomach illness. Fear, worry, hate, supreme selfishness, and inability to adjust themselves to the world of reality. These were largely the cause of their stomach illness and stomach ulcers. Stomach ulcers can kill you. According to Life magazine, they now stand 10th in our list of fatal diseases. I recently had some correspondence with Dr. Harold C. Haben of the Mayo Clinic. He read a paper at the annual meeting of the American Association of Industrial Physicians and Surgeons saying that he had made a study of 176 business executives whose average age was 44 years, and he reported that slightly more than a third of these executives suffer from one of three ailments peculiar to the high tension living heart disease, digestive tract ulcer, and high blood pressure. Think of it. Third of our business executives are racking their bodies with heart disease, ulcers, and high blood pressure before they even reach 45. What price? What price success? And they aren't even buying success. Can any man possibly be a success who is paying for business advancement with stomach ulcers and heart trouble? What shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his health? Even if he owned the whole world, he could sleep in only one bed at a time and eat only three meals a day. Even a ditch digger can do that and probably sleep more soundly and enjoy his food more than a high powered executive. Frankly, I would rather be a sharecropper down the Alabama with a banjo on my knees than wreck my health at 45 by trying to run a railroad or a cigarette company. And speaking of cigarettes, the best known cigarette manufacturer in the world recently dropped dead from heart failure while trying to take a little recreation in the Canadian woods. He amazed millions and fell dead at 61. He probably traded years of his life for what is called business success. In my estimation, this cigarette executive with all his millions in my estimation, this secret executive with all his million was not half as successful as my father, a Missouri farmer, who died at the 89 without a dollar. The famous Mayo brother declared that more than half of our hospital beds are occupied by people with nervous troubles, yet there the nerves of these people are studied under high-powered microscope in a post-mortem examination. Their nerves in most cases are apparently as healthy as the nerves of a Jack Dempsey. Their nervous troubles are caused by a physical deterioration of the nerve, but by emotions of futility, frustration, anxiety, worry, fear, defeat, despair. Plato said that the greatest mistake physicians make is that they attempt to cure the body without attempting to cure the mind. Yet the mind and body are the one and should not be treated separately. In it took medical science 2300 years to recognize this great truth. We are just now beginning to develop a new kind of medicine called psychopathic medicine, a medicine that treats both the mind and the body. It is high time we were doing that, for medical science has largely wiped out the terrible disease caused by physical germs disease such as smallpox, cholera, yellow fever, and scores of other scourges that swept untold millions into untimely graves, but medical science has been unable to cope with the mental and physical wrecks caused not by germs but by emotions of worries, fear, hate, frustration, and despair. Casualty caused by these emotional diseases are mounting and spreading with catastrophic rapidity. Doctors figure that one American is every 20 now alive will spend a part of his life in an institution for the mentally ill. One out of every six of our young men called up by the draft in the Second World War was rejected as mentally diseased or defective. What caused insanity? No one knows all the answer, but it is highly probable that in many cases fear and worry are contributing factors. The anxious and the harassed individual who is unable to cope with the harsh world of reality breaks all our contact with his environment and retreat into private dreams world of his own making, and this solve his very problem. As I write, I have on my desk a book by Dr. Edward Podolsky entitled Stop Worrying and Get Well. Here are some of the chapter titles in that book. What worry does to the heart. High blood pressure is fed by worry. Rheumatism can be caused by worry. Worry less for your stomach's sake. How worry can cause a cold. Worry and the thyroid, the worrying diabetic. Another illuminating book about worry is Line Against Himself by Dr. Carl Menninger, one of the Mayo brothers of psychiatry. Dr. Menninger book is a starting revelation of what you do to yourself when you permit destructive emotion to dominate your life. If you want to stop working against yourself, get this book, read it, give it to your friend. It costs your dollars and is one of the best investment you can make in this life. Worry can make even the most stolid person ill. General Grant discovered that during the closing days of the Civil War, the story goes like this: Grant had been besieging Richmond for 9 months. General Lee troops, rage and hungry, were beaten. Entire regiment were deserting at the time. Others were holding prayer meeting in their tent, shouting, wiping, seeing vision. The end was close. Lee's men set fire to the cotton and tobacco warehouses in Richmond, burned the arsenal, and fled from the city at night while towering flames roar up into darkness. Grant was in hot pursuit, banging away at the Confederates from both side and rear, while Sheridan cavalry was heading them off in front, tearing up railway lines and capturing supply trains. Grant, half blind with a violent sick headache, fell behind his army and stopped at the farmhouse. I spent the night, he recorded in his memoirs, in bathing my feet in hot water and mustard and putting mustard plasters on my wrist and the back part of my neck, hoping to be cured by morning. The next morning he was cured instantaneously, and the telling that cured him was not a mustard plaster, but a horseman galloping down the road with a letter from Lee saying he wanted to surrender. When the officer bearing the massage reached me, Grant Grant wrote, I was still suffering with the sick headache, but the instant I saw the content of the note, I was cured. Obviously, it was Grant's worries, tension, and emotion that made him ill. He was cured instantly the moment his emotion took on the hue of confidence, achievement, and victory. 70 years later, Henry Morgenthau Jr., Secretary of the Treasury in Franklin D. Roosevelt cabinet, discovered that worry could make him so ill that he was dizzy. He recorded in his diary that he was terribly worried when the president, in order to raise the price of wheat, brought 4,400 bushel in one day. He say in his diary, I felt literally dizzy while the thing was going on. I went home and went to bed for 2 hours after lunch. If I want to see what worry does to people, I don't have to go to a library or a physician. I can look out of my window of my home where I am writing this book, and I can see within one block one house where worry caused a nervous breakdown, and another house where a man worried himself into diabetes. When the stock market went down, the sugar in his blood and urine went up. When Montaigne, the illustrious French philosopher, was elected mayor of his hometown Bordeaux, he said to his fellow citizens, I am willing to take your affair into my hands, but not into my liver and lungs. This neighbor of mine took the affair of the stock market into the bloodstream and almost killed himself, where he can put you into a wheelchair with rheu- rheumatism and arthritic. Dr. Russell L. Cecil of the Cornell University Medical School is a world recognized authority on arthritis, arthritis, and he has listed four of the commonest conditions that bring on arthritis. Number one, martial shipwreck. Number two, financial disaster and greed. Number three, loneliness and worry. Number four, long cherished resentment. Naturally, these four emotional situations are far from being the only cause of arthritis arthritis. There are many different kinds of arthritis due to various causes, but to repeat, the commonest condition that bring on arthritis are the four listed by Dr. Russell L. Cecil. For example, a friend of mine was so hard. For example, a friend of mine was so hard bit during the depression that he gas company shut off the gas and the bank foreclosed the mortgage on the house. His wife suddenly had a painful attack of arthritis, and in spite of medicine and diets, the arthritis continued until their financial situation improved. Worry can even cause tooth decay. Dr. William I.L. MC Gongli said in an address before the American Dental Association that unpleasant emotions such as those caused by worry, fear, nagging may upset the body calcium balance and cause tooth decay. Dr. Gongli told of a patient of his who had always had a perfect set of teeth until he began to worry over his wife's sudden illness. During the 3 weeks she has in the hospital, he developed nine cavities. Cavities brought on by worry. Have you ever seen a person with an acutely overactive thyroid? I have, and I can tell you they tremble, they shake, they look like someone have scared to death, and that about what it amounts to. The thyroid gland The gland that regulates the body has been thrown out of kilter. It speed up the heart. The whole body is roaring away at full blast like a furnace with all its draughts wide open, and if this isn't checked by operation of treatment, the victim may die, may burn himself out. A short time ago, I went to Phil- Phil- Philadelphia with a friend of mine who has this disease. We want to see a famous specialist, a doctor who has been treating this type of ailment for 38 years. And what sort of advice do you suppose he had hanging on the wall of his waiting room, painted on a large wooden sign so all his patients could see it? Here it is. I copied it down on the back of an envelope while I was waiting. Relaxation and recreation. The most relaxation recreation foods are a healthy. Religion, sleep, music, laughter. Have faith in God, learn to sleep well, love good music, see the funny side of life, and health and happiness will be yours. The first question he asked this friend of mine was, what emotional disturbance brought on this condition? He warned my friend that if he didn't stop worrying, he could get other complication, heart troubles, stomach ulcers, or diabetes. All of these diseases said that eminent doctor are cousins, first cousins. Sure, they are first cousins. They all worry diseases. When I interviewed Marilyn O'Brien, she told me that she refused to worry because she knew that worry could destroy her chief asset on the motion picture screen, her good looks. When I first tried to break into the movies, she told me I was worried and scared, and I had just come from India and I didn't know anyone in London where I was trying to get a job. I saw a few producers, but none of them hired me, and the little money I had began to give out. For 2 weeks I lived on nothing but crackers and water. I was not only worried now, I was hungry. I said to myself, maybe you are a fool, maybe you will newer break into the movies. After all, you have no experience. You never act at all. What have you to offer but a rather pretty face? I went to the mirror, and when I looked in that mirror, I saw what worry was doing to my look. I saw the lines that it was forming. I saw the anxious expression. So I said to myself, you got to stop this at once. You can't afford to worry. The only thing you have to offer at all is your look, and worry will ruin them. Few things can age and sour a woman and destroy her looks as quickly as worry. Worry curdles the expression. It makes us clench our jaws and lines our faces with wrinkles. It forms a permanent scar. It may turn the hair gray and in some cases even make it fall out. It can ruin the complexion. It can bring on all kind of skin rashes, eruptions, and pimples. Heart disease is the number one killer in America today. During the Second World War, almost a third of a million men were killed in combat. But during that same period, heart disease killed 2 million civilians, and 1 million of those casualties were caused by a kind of heart disease that is brought on by worry and high tension living. Yes, heart disease is one of the chief reasons why Dr. Alexis Carrel said businessmen who do not know how to fight worry die young. The Negroes down south and the Chinese really have the kind of heart disease brought on by worry because they take things calmly. 20 times as many doctors, farm workers die from heart failure. The doctor lead 10's lives and pay the penalty. The Lord may forgive us our sins, said William James, but the nervous system never does. Here is a starting and almost incredible fact. More Americans commit suicide each year than die from the five most common communicable disease. Why? The answer is largely worry. When the cruel Chinese warlord wanted to torture their prisoner, they would tie their prisoner hand and foot and put them under a bag of water that constantly drip, 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 and day and night. These drops of water constantly falling on the head finally became like the sound of hammer blows and drove men insane. This same method of torture was used during the Spanish Inquisition and in German concentration camp under Hitler, where it's like the constant drip, drip, drip of water and constant drip, drip, drip of worry often drives men to insanity and suicide. When I was a country lad in Missouri, I was half scared to death by listening to Billy Sunday describe the hellfire of the next world, but he never ever mentioned the hellfire of physical agony that worries may have here and now. For example, if you are a chronic warrior, you may be stricken someday with one of the most excruciating pains ever endured by men, uh, angina pectoris. Boy, if that ever hits you, you will scream with agony. Your screams will make the sound in Dante in Pharaoh sound like babies in Thailand. You will say to yourself then, oh God, if I can ever get over this, I will never worry about anything ever. If you think I am exa- exaggerating, ask your family physician. Do you love life? Do you want to live long and enjoy good health? Here is how you can do it. I am quoting Dr. Alexis Carrel again. He said, those who keep the peace of their inner self in the midst of the tumult of the modern city are immune from nervous diseases. Can you keep the peace of your inner self in the midst of the tumult of a modern city? If you are a normal person, the answer is yes. Empathetically, yes. Most of us are stronger than we realize. We have inner source that we have probably never tapped, as through said in his immortal books. Walden. I know of no more encouraging fact than the unquestionable ability of man to elevate his life by a conscious endeavor if one advance confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavor to live the life he has imagined, he will meet with a success unexpected in a common hours. Surely many of the readers of this book have as much willpower and as many inner souls as Olga K. Jerry has. Her address in box 892, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. She discovered that under the most tragic circumstances she could banish worry. I firmly believe that you and I can also if we apply the old truths discussed in this volume. Here is Olga K. Jerry's story as she wrote it for me 8.5 years ago. I was condemned to die a slow, ag- agonizing death of cancer. The best medical brain of the coun- country, the Mayo brothers, confirmed the sentence. I was at a dead end street. The ultimate gap at me. I was young. I did not want to die in my desperation, I phoned to my doctor at Kellogg and carried out to him the despair in my heart. Rather impatiently, he upbraided me. What's the matter, Olga? Haven't you any fight in you? Sure, you will die if you keep on crying. Yes, the worst has overtaken you. Okay, face the fact, quite worrying, and then do something about it. Right then, there I took an oath so solemn that the nail sank deep into my flesh and could chills ran down my spine. I am not going to worry, I am not going to cry, and if there is anything to mind over matter, I am going to win, I am going to live.